Bears are absolutely battering the balls again today. And anybody that's been into crypto for not too long now, last week would have been hell for you. Anyone that's been in crypto for a while, last week would have been a drop in the ocean. So are we bullish going into next week, or are we bearish going into next week, guys? Markets do whatever the hell they want. The markets are undecided at the moment. So all we can do is look at facts. So we're going to be looking at the global liquidity index. Where are we in the actual business cycle? What does Bitcoin need to do going into next week? Your altcoin requests, and exactly how you can prepare for either scenario. Is it going to be bullish? Is it going to be bearish? On this channel, we don't care. We look, we review, we analyze, and we prepare. Okay, what's the markets going to look like going into next week, guys? We don't know. All we can look at is previous data, past data, and analyze the probabilities of what's likely going to happen going into next week. So we're going to do that. But before we do that, this is going to be a bit of a mishmash because a lot of people were asking a lot of questions about my previous video on the rotation of risk within the crypto market. So I'm going to touch on that as well. Because it's not just guys within the crypto market. And this might blow your mind. It might not blow your mind. Anyone that's been around for a while, you might have seen this before. It's the global liquidity cycle. Now, what this indicates, and this is a little bit different to the business cycle. We talk about the 4-year crypto cycle. We talk about the 4-year business cycle. This is the cycle of liquidity going into the world economy stock markets. So this black line here represents a stimulus into the economy. And we know that we've had China. They've been stimulating their economy. They've been propping up their stock market. They've been printing new money. We've got the US that's going to be doing exactly the same. We've got other world economies that are following suit, starting to stimulate the economy. And when you stimulate the economy and start printing that money, where do you think that money goes, guys? It goes into the stock market. It goes into the world stock markets. So the global liquidity cycle is showing us that we've got stimulus going into the economy. When does this look like it's going to peak? Up at the top here, back end of 2025. So what does that coincide with? Remember, guys, when we looked at the Bitcoin all-time history index, we estimated 78 weeks from the halving, 152 bars, 152 weeks from its bottom to its top. And then we estimated around about end of October, start of November for the rough end of the cycle, guys. It's not an exact science. Is it going to happen on the exact date? Probably not. It's uncanny that's happened previously, exactly the same on these two cycles. That's probably given a higher indication that it's not going to happen on this cycle. But what it does is it gives you an estimation how long the cycle could potentially last. And what I'm trying to get at, guys, is understanding these markets and understand how certain markets front run other markets helps us get an advantage and helps us get an edge because you know exactly where the flow of money needs to be at any given time. Think of it as a flow of risk, guys. Think of it as a pool of money. And then people dip their toe into the water in the least risk assets that are going to give them the least gains, but it means it's going to protect themselves the most. And as more people start coming in and start going into more on-risk assets, it gives people more confidence to get into those on-risk assets and then build and build and build and build until ultimately it comes crashing down like a house of cards. So the aim of the game, guys, is we don't want to be touching it while it's coming crashing down like a house of cards. So you go through these periods of rotation. Like I say, you go Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then less risk assets and less risk assets. But during the course of the bull run, guys, what you're doing, you're taking out into profits, you're taking out into Bitcoin. So you're starting to build your Bitcoin bag and build your Bitcoin bag and build your dollar bag and build your dollar bag. You're de-risking back into an off-risk market, guys. That's exactly what we're trying to do, trying to follow the flow of money. Let me show you some markets. Guys. It's not just within crypto. So you see Bitcoin, we can see that Bitcoin absolutely front runs every single thing within the crypto market, 58.75% of everything within the crypto market. So how can we tell whether something's going to front run Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin, guys? Store of value. What is Bitcoin, guys? It's a hedge against inflation. What else is a store of value? What else is a hedge against inflation? Gold. Look at this chart, guys. You've got a top here, 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 then you've got a breakout. When was this breakout? March 2024, 4th of March 2024. You've got a top here, you've got a top here, you've got a top here, and you've got a breakout. When was this? November 2024. Both look exactly the same charts, guys. However, when you think about it, we know that gold's a store of value. We know that Bitcoin's a store of value, but gold's been around a lot longer, guys. And a lot of these big hedge fund managers, a lot of these financial advisors, they won't give their clients a Bitcoin allocation, same as what they'll give their clients a gold allocation. Gold's least risky, and you can tell because gold front run the rest of the market by about 8 months. But they look exactly the same. These charts look exactly the same, and it's all about time in the market. It's all about confidence in the market, and it's all about the flow of liquidity. So we can look at gold to front run Bitcoin. Then we can look at Bitcoin to front run Ethereum. Ethereum hasn't broke its all-time highs. Ethereum's the second biggest crypto within the whole of the crypto market cap. It hasn't broken its all-time highs. And you can see that dominance is doing something as well, guys. And this is interesting going into next week. This is what I wanted to show you because we're having another push up on the dominance. Do you think that we can actually create another double top on dominance? Do you think that we could potentially put in a new high on Bitcoin dominance, a new local high, pushing past 61.51%? If we did do that going into next week, guys, this is the weekly chart. If we did something like this going into next week, what do you think is going to happen to the altcoins, guys? That is going to be a capitulation event. The altcoins are going to bleed a lot harder than what Bitcoin's going to bleed. You're going to get a spike up in dominance, which is showing the rotations coming out of altcoins. People are getting scared. They're going into Bitcoin. They're going into dollars. Dominance is spiking up one last time, and then potentially that could be a signal for the first surge in alt season. Guys, we need to have a capitulation event. We need to have some kind of a liquidity grab, wash people out of the market, take out the weak hands. The weak hands, guys, that's the people that bought high and that sold low. We need to take out the weak hands because people need to be holding for the course of the bull run for those prices to continue to go up, to have confidence in the market, for us to rotate between one risk asset to another risk asset. So we'll look at the DXY next. Look at the DXY. So what indications can we get from the dollar? Guys, remember one thing, we want a weak dollar. So if I just have a look at the daily, that was the weekly. I mean, this is positive. This is one thing that's positive. You've got here a bearish divergence. Why is a bearish divergence positive on a DXY, on the DXY? So the DXY is the strength of the dollar. You measure the DXY by, you have a bag of fiat currencies. The main ones are euro, which is about 25% of the bag. You've got the Great British Pound, you've got the Canadian dollar, you've got the Japanese yen, you've got a different bag of currencies, and it's how they are performing at any given time against the dollar. When the dollar starts outperforming, the dollar is king in times of off risk. So when the dollar starts underperforming, the dollar gets weaker. That's when speculative assets start flying. So we want a weak dollar. We've got a bearish divergence on here on the daily chart. Let's see how that plays into next week. If we get a drop in the dollar, that's going to be good. But it does look like the chart's possibly shaking up for a capitulation event or some kind of a downturn, guys. If Bitcoin dominance gives us that signal that it's going to push to the upside, it's going to mean one thing. Bitcoin's either going to drop hard, and then the altcoins are going to drop even harder, or Bitcoin's going to pump hard, and then the altcoins are going to pump less. Probably the first one, guys. So the next one is the total crypto market cap. So this is including Bitcoin, and this is including Ethereum. So you think of this as global liquidity within the crypto market, guys. So you think of everything within the crypto market, including Bitcoin, including Ethereum, and look what's happened. You've got your big break above. So that's signaling that there's a bull market in play for the whole of the total crypto market cap. You take out the two leaders, the big daddy, and then his friend Ethereum. What's happened? Haven't put in a new all-time high. So the whole of the crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin and excluding Ethereum, was 1.16 trillion when it put in a recent high. Then you add in Bitcoin and add in Ethereum, look at that 3.73 trillion. So you can see why just those two cryptocurrencies are the ones that really drive the market to start with. And then the rest of them follows the rotation of capital, guys. People go into Ethereum, people go into Bitcoin, then they go off risk into, go on risk into higher risk, more speculative assets. So the next thing that I want to show you is, this is not even crypto, guys. This is the stock market. So this is the Russell 2000. This is small cap stocks. What I want to show you, if we just zoom out and go on to the weekly, this is small cap stocks. And what you can see here, guys, is one thing. We haven't had a breakout on the Russell 2000. So you think of these as the highest risk stocks within the US stock market. And then what I want to show you is the IWR. Now, this is an ETF. This is the top few hundred within the Russell. This is the top few hundred within the Russell 2000. So what you can see here, guys, is one thing. The top caps have driven this forward. They've put in an all-time high and they've broken out. So the flow of liquidity has gone from the highest within the Russell, and then it's going to go from the highest into the lowest. When it goes into the lowest, you'll see a breakout on the Russell 2000. So I've got some altcoin requests from you guys now. I'm going to go into the daily. There's only a couple of altcoin requests here. Let me just stick the chart up properly. First one was Casper. So looking at Casper going into next week, we've got an obvious support zone here that we need to hold. Obvious support zone is sitting at 0.098645, call it 10 cents nearly, to 0.091448. So the bearish thing is we've come out of an ascending channel. Come out of this ascending channel, we've dropped. Where's the first place that you drop in an ascending channel? It's the first support base. That's exactly where we come back and dropped. So this is the area that we need to hold, guys. It's going to look pretty bearish if we drop below this level here. I mean, call it 97015. Then you've got your next level of support going all the way back down here on Casper. Just get that on. Got your next support all the way down here, sat at 0.052197. So dropping this creates a gap. If we drop this level here, that's why it's so important. It creates a gap. This is the gap here. That was the lack of build-up of price action. When something goes up as volatile as that, expect it, once broken, to come down as fast as that. So that's what I'll be looking to prepare myself on Casper. Preparing yourself, guys, can give you an advantage in the market because it tells you one thing. This is a drop. If we drop this here, this is a drop of 47%. Doesn't look much, 47%. So if you've stopped out and preserved your capital and you drop 47%, what does that mean? It means that you've preserved 47% minus whatever your stop loss was, and then you can live to fight another day. You can get cheaper prices at these next support bases. Use it to your advantage, guys. You've got a lithium. Let's have a look. So, I mean, one good thing here, we're at an oversold area in the on the stochastic RSI. So let's see how this pump pushes up and how far price can push up on the back of this. I mean, probably what's likely to happen on here, you're going to get some kind of a reaction. So you put in a high here. You've put in a high here. You've had a volatile sell wall here by the bears, indicated by this big spike. Then you've had a push to the downside. Really, we want to be breaking and closing above this 200 in the short term and the 50. That's going to give us an indication as to whether the bulls are going to regain any kind of momentum. Is holding this 50, holding this 200. On Casper, Ethereum, it's sat at $1.61 at the moment. So if I wasn't in this at the moment, I wouldn't be getting into this. Once I'm getting into this, I'd want confirmation that I've got a break and I've got a close above the 200 daily moving average, which would also coincide with this previous resistance, which I'd expect to flip support and already has started flipping as support. So I'm just waiting on that one for now, guys. Alluvium. Let me have a look at Alluvium. I mean, on Alluvium, guys, you've got to look at the downside to the upside. How long does this last? I'm going to zoom out onto the weekly. Zoom out onto the weekly. This build-up of accumulative price goes all the way back to July 2022. 127 weeks of price action. So it's held this accumulator phase for all that period of time. And you've got the downside risk. If it holds this again, it doesn't do something it hasn't done in 127 weeks. Your downside's 30%. Upside, potential upside, guys, 1,214% just to this previous lower low. So that's one where you've got to treat it as risk, guys. We're looking at the rotation of risk. So if you've got $1,000, for example, would you put $1,000 in Bitcoin and then you've made $2,000? You take $2,000 and put $2,000 in Ethereum. You make double that on Ethereum. You take 2,000. You put 2,000 in Ethereum. You take 4,000 out, and then you take 4,000 out of Ethereum. You put 4,000 in Solana. Double that. Doesn't work like that, guys. Don't think it works like that because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. And remember, we're trying to allocate risk accordingly. 5% here, 2% here, 1% here, depending on the risk factor. This was the last one, Ali. Now, I'd covered Ali quite a few years, probably going back a year ago, and I haven't done it since. You can see the support base, pretty much the same as Alethea. You've got a support base. What's your downside compared to your upside here? Downside, 31%. Upside, looking at these closes here, 294%, conservative 294%. If you're shooting for the wick highs, and this is going to go to all-time highs, which it potentially could, 735%. You don't know where these small caps are going to go, so just putting all your eggs in one basket on something like Ali isn't a great idea. I've invested in Ali, guys. I've got some Ali. Haven't got much of it, probably less than 1%. And then a cash. Go back onto the daily on this. This is just a follow-up from the previous video. It's doing exactly what we thought. Broke, flipped through, holding support. It's holding support nicely. This support base here is $3.11. Okay, so Let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next, guys. Did you learn anything from this video? Was it helpful? Am I actually explaining things in the correct way? Because I'm learning as well. And I want to teach you every single thing that I know. So let me know what you want me to cover next, guys. Join our Discord group. It's completely free. We can chat to each other on there. There's some great guys in there. And I'll see you tomorrow.